Well, thank you both so much for taking the time. I really appreciate
Of
it.
course. Thank
So,
you.
the first thing I want to ask you about is the collaboration between you two in writing this, and like, what does it look like? How does that work? I know this is your second book, but I find it so interesting having two writers for a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, and it is in some ways for me similar to writing a book by myself, but in a lot of ways it's not. I mean it's basically, I guess we started sort of with the smallest little silly idea. We were talking about the Minotaur and his underwear, from the Lightning Thief, and like, where does he get the underwear? Maybe he knits it himself. And this whole thing just sort of ballooned out of that. And Mark came up with the more detailed, like actual sort of viable pitch. And we discussed it, and then they did the first draft, and I did the second draft, and it changed greatly in every iteration. And of course,
Mhm.
our great editor, Steph Lurie, was there to kind of referee and sort of, bat things back and forth. But it's so fascinating, and it's such a great learning experience for me to see, what Mark does with the characters, and then to see like where can I sort of add value, and where can I sort of fill out what I can. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know. Am I explaining that okay, Mark?
Yeah. And I also agree that in a lot of ways it doesn't feel different than drafting a book by myself.
Hmm.
It just has the added layer of we finish an outline or a pitch, and you're sending it to another person who changes it, and it's the sending back and forth part and having to sit there and read what the other person wrote and taking that into your creative process that's different. But as a whole, we both have fairly similar that we write these detailed outlines and then write a draft from that outline. So I think that made it if I can say easier, not that writing a book is easy, but it made it
Yeah.
easier. I will say we were much quicker this time.
Hmm.
I feel like the process was much shorter for this book than it was the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause you
We
figured it
locked
out.
in. Yeah, we figured it out. We locked in.
I love it. You're like, I know what we're doing now. We got this down.
Yeah.
Well, these books are so fun. I mean, I love the Percy Jackson books anyway. My daughters are 12 and 14, so this is like been their life. So for you, Rick, is it hard or exciting to like, I don't want to say give up stuff, but like this is a world you've lived in for so long. So like what is it like having someone else come in and give you ideas for this world?
I mean, for the Nico di Angelo books, it was critical for me. I don't think I would have written, I know I wouldn't have written this book by myself. I just didn't feel like I had the toolbox, that
Mhm.
I had, the experience to draw on, that I had the understanding of the characters. I wouldn't have wanted to tackle that on my own. And plus, I mean, I only keep writing in this world if I can find things that truly excite me,
Yeah.
and that feel new, and that feel different, and that make me see the world in a fresh way. And that's definitely been the experience here. So yeah, it was critical.
I love that. Now I want to say my 14-year-old is she is queer and she is like obsessed with the fact that we have Nico and Will's story in here. And so like what does it mean for the both of you that you are giving this to these children, you know what I mean, who want to, they're starting to really be able to see themselves on screen, but now they're being able to read about themselves in books.
Mhm.
Oh wow. I mean, it always feels like both an immense responsibility and the funnest thing in the world to do. And I always want it to be a good balance of the two of them, that we are taking it seriously, but also in taking it seriously, we get to be silly, which was fun to get to be a little bit sillier in this book than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, getting to travel the country, or really I've been to Canada now because of this book, and um and getting to meet, young kids who see themselves in Will and Nico. Oh, it's the best experience. It's surreal. It never stops feeling, or it never starts feeling old. I don't get
Yeah,
over it. I don't, it is an incredible thing to experience. And I, on a personal level, is just, I'm doing this because this is what I wanted when I was a kid, and we didn't have this level of representation that we do now. So yeah, it's an honor.
I love it. Is there any like interaction with someone that's maybe stood out to you that you've met?
God, do you? I don't know if you met them, Rick. It was here in Atlanta on tour.
Okay.
There were and I'm going to use the word eerie in the most complimentary sense, the most eerie Nico and Will cosplayers who traveled to Atlanta from Sweden.
No,
I
Wow.
went out into the line because my Atlanta friends were like here, and I wanted to just go say hi to them.
right.
And I could not believe these two, who are also partners. So I was like, I'm sure they'll see this because they watch a lot of our interviews and stuff like that. I think about them all the time because their cosplay was so accurate, and also now accurate to what had happened in Sun the Star with Nico is all I'll say. And just getting to meet, I don't know, I've been a fan of so many things over the years, books, movie, especially musicians and bands, and I've traveled ridiculous places. But that was my first real experience of, oh, you went above and beyond for something that we created. And
Yeah.
I think about it all the time, like, what an impact to have your words
Wow.
inspire something like that.
That
I
is
love that.
incredible. Oh, I'm so glad you told me that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love it. Well, what are you excited for them to see in this book or read in this book
Hmm.
that you can talk about? That's not a
Hmm.
spoiler.
I mean, I think that the really fun thing about this book is that Mark was talking about this earlier in the day, that it's not just The Sun and the Star Part Two. This is a very different book, structured differently. The tone is different, the setting is different, and we're catching up with Nico and Will at a different point in their journey together. And as demigods, they, they got through the really harrowing experience of The Sun and the Star, and now they have a totally different kind of challenge, which is kind of learning how to re-examine everything they thought they knew about who is a hero and who is a monster, and what the word monster really even means. It's such a basic rewiring of the Percy Jackson world that I think it's going to explode some heads in the best possible way.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Mark?
That would have been my answer, so I'll add and say a different one, which is well, when the circus arrives. That's all I can. When the
Yeah.
Mm.
circus happens, I'm very excited to see how readers react to that chaos. It's great. It's great.
I love it. Now, do you guys like look online and see what people say? I know people always say like I try to avoid comments but I'm sure it's sometimes you just want to be in that world, I feel like.
I don't initially when I'm writing any project really, but especially for this one because I don't want sort of fan expectations or theories or desires to be in the book. But when it
Mhm.
was done and fully, and when Rick and I had done both of our drafts, it had been copy edited, I did look at theories of what the book was about and what people thought was going to be in it. And this was before we had revealed the title, mentioned any characters or whatever. And I just want to say what a delightful experience it was to see no one get anything right at all, at all. Not even close. There was one person who had a theory of what was going to happen, and it happens on page one.
Mm.
Really?
So I was like, oh, y'all are not ready for this book because you're not even close. You're not even
Yeah.
close at all. They're like, this character's going to show up. It's going to be about this. We're going to see this. And I'm like, no, no, you're not. You are not ready. So that's otherwise, I'll look at I was talking in an earlier interview about I will look at stuff when people tag me in Will and Nico fan art or Will and Nico
Hmm.
fan videos. I really love seeing that stuff. And just seeing the excitement from people
Yeah.
for this world, Rick has created, and now I'm part of the creation process too. I love seeing that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What does that feel like, Mark, being a part of this world? It's crazy.
Oh, I sometimes have this thought, Rick, where I'm like, how have you done this? It feels very surreal.
Mhm.
It like to write words and then someone else makes art of it, and then to write
Mhm.
words and someone does cosplay.
Yeah.
I want to, how does this feel for you after all these
Yeah.
years to know how fierce and loyal your readers are? I mean, you've had readers who were, I mean, we did an interview with readers who were in middle school who are now podcasters.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is. It is surreal. That's exactly the right word. But it's of course it's an honor and it's incredible and it's sort of more than I can ever process in terms of how people have taken to Percy's world and made it their own. But I think that's the real key for me is that it is important for me to remember that this is no longer my world. It
Mm,
started as a bedtime story for my son. That is true, but it has turned into something quite different, much larger than me, and I think that's great. I think it is part of the beauty of reading that you create the world as you're reading along with the author. And your part of creating that world may or may not be exactly what the author intended, but that's completely valid.
mhm.
You become part of the creation of that world. And so to turn it over to the fandom and say, yes, I started this, but you are the lifeblood of it, and you are the ones who have decided that you want to make this part of your experience on Earth.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Day one, did you ever expect? I mean, I'm sure there's no way you could ever imagine it was going to be like this.
No, I still can't imagine that it's like this. Honestly, I mean, all I can do is like sort of concentrate on anecdotes.
Mhm.
Um, well, like Mark was just saying about the cosplayers, that's amazing. I love that. Those individual experiences and interactions really are impactful. I mean, when we start talking about the numbers, people and the copies sold or whatever, I kind of start my eyes cross because I can't think in numbers like that. Um,
Yeah.
but the individual interactions are amazing.
I mean, I love because I know like one of my daughter's friends saw the show first, right?
Mhm.
When the show came out and was like, what is this? Like watch it and then has gone back and has become obsessed with like all the books. So,
Awesome.
isn't that crazy to think it can even work that way?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I have heard that. And again, I mean, it shows you how long this has been going on. And that's mind-boggling that, yeah, sure. I mean, there are readers who are just coming of age to get to the point where they're ready to tackle the books. And I've heard from a lot of young people that their first introduction to Percy Jackson was the TV show. Um, Incredible for me to think because I've been living with all that huge history, but
Yeah.
it's kind of liberating actually.
It was funny when she told me because she was over and she saw our Percy Jackson book. She's like, I just found out that was a book. And I was like, what? Like, how?
That's wild.
It's so crazy. She's like, I was on Disney Plus. And I was like, what's this show? And it's
Yeah.
just, and it's more and more generations. I'm sure some people are starting with these books,
Hmm.
which is crazy to think. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean, Mark?
And
What is that?
I have met them at festivals where they're like, this is my first Percy Jackson book. And I'm both flattered, but then part of me is like, what? What do you mean? How? And I'm like, is it readable? And they're like, yeah, no, I understood it. Maybe like maybe there are a few little references to people or characters I didn't get, but like no, and I don't know that what a fascinating thing. I'm a completionist where if I'm gonna get into a series, I want to start from the beginning and then
Hmm.
experience it chronologically in order. So the idea of like jumping in on a spin-off that's technically book 16 or 17 is so strange to me. But yes, that is some people's experience with Percy Jackson is jumping in with Son of the Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring up about how I do feel like it is readable. Like you don't need to know the rest of the Percy Jackson stuff to really fully understand these books, which I love. But then for those who have read the other Percy Jackson books or know them, it's like they get a little extra experience while reading it. So can you guys talk about the balance of that? Because you did a really great job with that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, there is a long tail to this whole Percy Jackson experience and series. So, of course, we have to be mindful of readers who are picking up this book, and it can be very daunting. I mean, I agree with Mark in terms of my personal preferences. If I'm
Yeah.
reading an author, reading a series, I want to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't want to start with book 17. And it's very daunting to think, wait a minute, you mean I have to read 16 books before I can understand what's going on here? So I'm relieved, Mark, to hear that you've been
Yeah.
encountering readers that said, no, no, it was fine. I could start with Sun and the Star and understand it, because that's definitely the hope.
Yeah.
I think we talked earlier today too about the challenge of this is actually my first sequel. I've never written a sequel before.
Oh, wow.
And so having a story that the events of the last one certainly affect this one, but it's not like the last one ended in a cliffhanger and this is the direct continuation. But there's still a weight to the story that I was cognizant of as we were writing this that was, oh, this is in conversation with the last one. And that is such an interesting experience for me because up until this point I've always written standalones. I like it. I like a one and done. The story is done. I don't gotta come back to it. So it is interesting to hear from readers both that they were able to come into The Sun and the Star and not necessarily need the other books. But now I'm also wondering how that experience is going to be with Court of the Dead, where it's not a direct sequel necessarily, but the first book does matter,
Yeah.
the events of this one. But, I think our balance is always as long as we're ultimately respecting the reader. And so
Mhm.
respecting that there are going to be people coming into this who know the world better than both of us combined. Like I'll be frank, they just know it better than us and they have the mind for that. And then there are also going to be people who are newer. And so I feel like a skill I developed with this book and learning from Rick was how to contextualize moments so that even briefly you can give someone the information to understand what's happening if it is based on something that came from a prior book.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, would you do another one? I know this one's like not even out yet,
It's not.
but would you still want to live with these characters, and create more worlds for them and more stories for them?
I mean, we haven't like made a master plan, but that's not new for me. I never
Yeah.
make a master
Yeah.
plan
Rick's
of what I'm
like,
doing.
that's old hat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But obviously, I mean, I keep coming back to these characters. And as I said before, I mean, it's basically about, is there something new to
Yeah.
explore, something exciting and fun, not just for me, but for the readers.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mark, you said you don't love a sequel. You haven't done it, but what was it like your experience like getting to come back to these characters? Was it exciting
I
or
mean, on the one hand, yes, very exciting. Also, because we had done this before, this genuinely felt easier.
yeah.
Like writing a book is not easy again, but
Yeah.
it did feel easier. I think our turnarounds were quicker. We just sort of like were able to, synchronize a lot differently this time, which was really cool. I also agree. This is just something that I have in my own personal career, which is I do want to challenge myself with every book, and I want to
Mhm.
do something I haven't done. And so that went into even the very initial planning stages, which was how is this book different? How is it not Sun and the Star Part 2? What are elements we haven't explored yet? Even on the structure of this book is very different
Yeah.
from a lot of the other ones. So just even on a creative level, it was very satisfying.
I love that. Well, I'm ready for a series. So, a television series. Let's just have that keep the books going, have the
So
television series go at the same time.
there we go. Nico
Disney
Adventure.
Plus. Why not? I mean, come on. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on everything.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.